I would always go to the dugout 30 minutes before the game time. Rarely was there anybody there. I would go there, sit by myself. You could smell the just cut grass. You could hear the people start to come in the ballpark. You could smell the popcorn, the hot dogs. It was like being in a cathedral or church for me for about 15, 20 minutes, just me in the dugout by myself. That part for me was always the most special. I did it every dugout, 17 years, to that 30 minutes by myself and just thanking God for where I'm at, how I got here, and the people that helped me on my way.
Well, Clint, thank you for joining. Welcome to the middle.
Megan, thanks for having me.
I wanted to get your thoughts before we really get into anything. We have a new baseball season that just kicked off. In your experience, your wealth of experience as a player, as a coach, as a manager, how long does it really take in the season to know what kind of team you have?
Well, the barometer that I used over the years, and it was shared with me, and it seemed to play out pretty accurately, is 40 games. That way, you've been through your rotation 8 times. If you get your 5 starters, men probably have, gotten 150, 200 at bats, played a lot of defensive innings. So that usually it's kind of like if you're running a race, you're at the quarter mile mark. And I would always get my staff together at that time and, kind of have a 3 up, 3 down. What are we doing well? What are we not doing well? And what do we need to do more of? So the 40 game mark was really my first barometer and a mile marker to check and think, okay, here's what we may be looking at.
And what were you looking for? Were there certain things, check boxes in your mind that you were going through?
Oh, we had a list of things that we felt that were important. From a pitching standpoint, you've got a lot of minuscule things you keep track of. First pitch strikes, runners, hitters retired in 3 pitches or less, shutdown innings. And a shutdown inning is after you scored, you go out and give up no runs the next inning to the other team versus having a not a shutdown inning. The end of the game, finishing, what is our record when we're leading after 6? What is our record leading after 7, 8, 9? Any comeback wins? How are the on-base percentages of our position players in the lineup playing out? Do we need to readjust? There's much more lineup movement in today's game than there was years ago. And, for some of it's good reason, and some of it, I still think we overcook things at times. We try and leverage everything in today's game at times. And for me, it was maddening initially, and now it's not part of it. So I sit back and watch and see how it plays out.
And I would say how much of what you're seeing, especially in spring training and these first few weeks, how much of it do you actually trust? Do you say, we're looking at right now, we're 12 or 13 games into the season. That's not enough really to tell. Let's just say the season's going to go either way. So how much of what you're seeing did you actually trust?
Well, first of all, in spring training, I used to tell our players the games matter, but they don't count.
Oh.
They matter, but they don't count. Anytime you play a game, there's a scoreboard involved, it matters, but they don't count. So basically, you're beta testing everything in spring training. You're getting reps. You're looking for results. At the end of the day, too, you can't weigh. You have to use a different scale on weighing them because it's spring training. One of the nuances of spring training is you don't face the real lineups that you're going to play in the season until the last week. Starting pitchers aren't pitching 5 or 6 innings till the last week. When teams go on the road to play you, they don't bring their star-studded lineups. They have to play like three players that are going to play every day during the season. So it's a mixed bag. Whitey Herzog shared with me a long time ago. He said, the one thing I would just ask you to be mindful of is it's hard to evaluate in spring training and it's hard to evaluate in September. That's when the rosters used to be expanded to 40 players. And, teams could be out of it by then and they're not really putting up a same kind of effort that they might have earlier. There's just a lot of different things to weigh. So he put limited value on spring training and sometimes limited value in September. Now, you could be in a situation in September where you're not a good team, but you're playing meaningful games because every other team you're playing is involved in something, has something at stake. So it's all it's weights and measures. Everything that matters counts, but not everything that counts matters.
You mentioned vibes. But let's look at the Rockies, who are having, especially compared to the start of last season, a total turnaround from that. How do you keep those vibes going? In your experience, if you're having that beginning luck, not I won't say luck, but how do you keep it going?
That's the $1 million question, is traction and consistency. And one of the things that I've always thought important and felt important with my coaches and with our teams, and even when I was a player or a coach or a manager, the game doesn't know the game's important. What I mean by that
Mm.
is that at bat in the first inning with the bases loaded, you pop the ball up. That's a big deal, but okay. That at bat in the ninth inning when you pop the ball up with the bases loaded and you're down 2 runs, that's, it's gut wrenching. It's gnashing of teeth. The game
Yeah.
doesn't know it's important. Trying to help your players find a way where they just play the game and they're not playing on feelings or emotion or adrenaline situations. And also, even to simplify it a little bit more, Megan, you meet the demands of the game. There's 15 games a day. There's 15 managers that talk about missed opportunities. We had men on base and we didn't get them in. Every day it happens. Every day it happens. And it doesn't need to be made any more challenging than that. You got to find a way to meet the demands of the game. That's how you establish traction. That's how you keep the vibes positive, ongoing, flowing. And it really helps when a lot of people are involved in the consistency and the success you're having because everybody has a role. And you as a manager got to find a way to keep everybody engaged and sharp. And that's one of the challenges. You can't just play the same nine every day. You can't just use the same guys on the bullpen every game when you're ahead. You'd like to, but you got to find opportunities for others to be engaged, to have success, and to be a part of it.
You mentioned those media conferences. How much in your experience, even going back to your days as a player, how much does that hype and that public commentary, positive and negative, start to weigh in on both the players and the managers and the coaches?
It's different for every individual. I can't speak for other players. I can't speak for other managers. I know throughout my career, it depends on where you're playing too, because there's larger scrutiny in New York, LA, Boston, and Philly than there is in Denver, Colorado, or there is in
Yeah.
Cincinnati, or there is in Pittsburgh. And at the same time, you take it for what it is. No other sport does the manager has to deal with the media twice a day in baseball.
Mhm.
162 games. You have the pregame conference, which usually is talked about the night before activity, the day before activity, injuries, some other topics. After the game, it's the game. How the game got played, what went
Yep.
well, what didn't go well, moves that were made. Um, I tried to keep it in contact. I didn't take it personally. Sometimes it was, and it should be because you're the manager. And I think
Mhm.
it helped me knowing that when we did well, I tried to get success to everybody else. When we didn't do well, I tried to own all the disappointment, the failure, and the shortcomings to keep
Yeah.
it off the players and the coaches, to keep them freed up, to keep them, okay, Clint's got us. He's
Yeah.
wearing it. Your job as the manager for me was always that's what you do. When you do well, you need to be a window where everybody can see through you and see everything else. And when you don't do well, you need to be a mirror. Need to be the one that accepts all the whatever it is, the failure, the lack of execution. But from the player standpoint, some players like it, some players don't. Some players love social media. Some players get off it once the season starts. We always encouraged our players to don't post anything on social media until a couple hours after the game. Don't get caught up in the heat of the moment. It doesn't always work though. There's some people are people. Humans are messy and they're going to react accordingly sometimes if they feel like they've been ripped in the paper, it's been unfair or whatever. They may respond in a certain way that's not helpful to them. It's not help. All it does is draw more attention to a situation that you really didn't think was appropriate to start with. So it's a life lesson in negotiating and actually being relational with other people without stepping on them.
When you would come into not only new teams, but even as new players come in, how did you earn that trust? How did you start that process to build that trust?
Well, I think it's important that you said earn it. You got to earn it today. I mean, when I was a young player coming up, you in the manager's office, only two things happened. Neither one was good. You were getting set down or you got yelled at. A lot of managers today, you say you have an open door policy. That's great as long as people are coming through that door. Because if you have an open door policy and nobody's coming through, you just got an open door. There's no policy. But I've always thought there was three questions I needed to get answered from every player. I needed to answer for every player, and I needed to answer for my staff. And I learned these by what I felt I needed and I challenges I had as a player coming up. Number one, can I trust you? I've got to earn their trust, show them they can trust me. Number two, do you care about me? So I need to make that shortstop that's the backup know that I do value him besides being an extra infielder with a good glove, no bat, above average range, limited running speed. Those numbers everybody knows. I need to know where he came from, mom and dad, single family home, there's only one parent in the house. Does he have a girlfriend? Does he have a wife? Does he have hobbies? All these things I called coins and I collected on the player to show that I cared about him outside of the skill set that most people are the only thing they're interested in. And then number three, can you make me better? And then I would hope that opportunity came when he trusted me enough to present something to me, or I could present something to him, say, hey, I watched you do this. Okay, it didn't work this time. If we get, well, we will get in that situation again. What would you do differently? And you know what? I may have a thought on that after you tell me what you're going to do differently. Players want to be coached up and they want to know that you're capable of coaching them up. But the first most important aspect is, Megan, they're never going to let you coach them until they trust you.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's why, in baseball and in any sort of leadership position is earning that trust so that, to your point, if you have an open door policy, if no one's coming through it, that says something about what's happening in that culture. Have you ever done something, whether it was in a game, coaching, or even as a player, where, you were trying to course correct, you were trying to get out of a hole, you were trying to move forward, and nothing seemed to stick, nothing seemed to work? How do you work through those moments where it may be that trial and error, and you're just kind of feeling like, man, we're trying, but it's just not working?
Happens to me 3 times a week in daily life. It happens to everybody. I managed 2,600 games at the major league level. You don't think there were missteps? You don't think there were absolute mistakes? I used to jokingly share with people, because one of the biggest challenges for a manager is the pitching change. When to take the pitcher out, when to put the other pitcher in. It always works as long as the next guy that comes in does a good job. When the next guy comes in and doesn't do a good job, that's when everything blows up. So I would share with the press, when I made the decision, it was the right decision. I had all the information. I was watching the other guy pitch. I felt like things were getting away from him. I wanted a fresh guy in there. Now, 4 pitches later, Megan, it could be the very wrong decision based on what happens.
Yeah.
But when I
Yeah.
made the decision, so there's missteps throughout the season. You try and course correct. You try and get back on track. The best policy I had when I did that, and it was Evan, I would get the club together after the game the next day and say, hey, guys, I kicked that one to the curb. That's all on me. I want you to let that go.
Mhm.
I apologize. I hope I don't do it again. I can't promise you that because 162 of them, I'll probably kick another one sooner or later, but I need to be
Yeah.
clean with you. And you need to hear from me. And here's what I'm going to do next time to hopefully make a better decision.
That sounds like motivational. How did you keep motivating the players over that number of games, especially when you lose a series, when you've gone 3, 4 games or, an extended period of time where it's just you're kind of on the downside. How do you keep that motivation up?
You do it because you've been through it. You've got experience in doing it. And, I went through some seasons in Denver, what was tough sled. We had a remarkable run in '07. We won 21 out of the last
Yeah.
22 games, got to the World Series.
Yeah.
In Pittsburgh, we had 3 consecutive playoff seasons where we got the wild card or in the playoffs after 20 consecutive losing seasons. When you lose, if you identify the reasons why you lost, what more can you do about that? You need to honestly self-evaluate and then work on getting better at those points that have been points of contention or points where we're not playing well or we're not executing well. The good part about baseball, and I use it in my book, Hurdleisms, all right? At the end of the day, your best policy is to shower well. Get the grime, the dirt, the messiness, the
Yeah.
losing of the day off down the shower. You're going somewhere next. It may be home, girlfriend, wife, mom and dad, whatever, roommates.
Yeah.
They deserve your attention. They don't need for you to come in carrying the baggage of the day 0 for 4 with 3 punch outs and an error in the field and the team lost. They don't need that. They don't deserve that. Shower well, flush it off, and that next day you come in, I would always tell my players, I want open arms, I want open hands, open eyes, and open hearts. We'll see what we get done today. Today's a new day. You can't hold on to the past, the game of baseball, the game of sport. It does you no good. And to worry about tomorrow, that does you no good. The one day you actually have engagement with and can have an impact on is the game that day or that night.
What did that showering well look like? Was it like, I mean, I know some people go for a walk or something like that. Was there anything that was that specific for you?
Well, I didn't need to go for a walk because I usually get about 8,000 steps in the dugout during the game. And there's times for me, I've been fortunate that I had a job when I woke up in the morning, I couldn't wait to get to. And then I had a job that once it was over, I couldn't wait to get home because I had a family I couldn't wait to get to. So for me, that makes it easier. Some people didn't have that, those blessings.
Mhm.
I There have been times in my life when I went home to an empty house, but I still needed to leave where I was. One of the things that fallacies in sports you'll hear about, well, the coach sleeps in the clubhouse. I just don't get that. I don't get that.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. I need space. I need different optics. Sometimes I need to go somewhere where it's really quiet, and it can be in the clubhouse after everybody's off, but it's still in the clubhouse. It smells like
Mhm.
a clubhouse. And my office looks like my office. I want to go home. I want to see pictures or paintings or TV, music, just read a book or just sit in the quiet. So my wife, Carla, when I would go home, would give me 5 minutes. If I didn't shower well and I still had something, she goes, "You got anything?" And I'd say, "Yes." She goes, and we developed a problem. It basically was a guideline. It was a boundary. I had 5 minutes to verbally vomit on my day, and then I was back. I needed to be a husband, I needed to be a dad, and I needed to be a partner, and I was home. I wasn't in the clubhouse anymore. I wasn't managing anything. I'm not
Mhm.
the ball team's not in my house. My wife
Yeah.
manages our house. My wife manages the family. I needed to get in line and just do what and perform the role I was asked to perform, in the house. So that was good for me. It was cleansing for me. It was healthy for me.
I love that. I think that's useful for anyone to just you gave yourself, you're right, that time boundary to get it out and then to move on, to make that conscious decision to move on. How much are you aware of yourself and your emotions and your actions as a leader during a game?
As the years went on, I got much better at it because when you do realize the camera's on you, you just need to take. I always felt the camera was on me forever. It was never off of
Mhm.
me because the last thing you want to get caught doing on camera is a tirade, an eye roll. But we're
Yep.
humans, that they happen, but they don't help. They may happen, and you
Yeah.
may be human, but they do not help. And actually, they hurt. They can hurt an individual player. Your team sees it. There could be guys in the clubhouse that hurt or whatever watching. They go, "There he goes again." Here, we make one error, and then look at him, eye roll, and the body language, and this and that. So to I tried to emulate a duck swimming on a lake. Above water, I'm cool, calm, and collected. Inside, there's no. I can't even tell you sometimes what was going on inside. Um, that way, because the players, when things get bad, the players are going to look to you first, and you
Yeah.
need to be a North Star. You need to be a North Star. You need to be somebody where they can look down. Like, okay, Clint's got the wheel. All hell's breaking loose, but Clint's got the wheel. We're okay. Or
Mhm.
my coaches and I, we got the wheel.
Yeah.
Not me throwing. Some guys react differently. Some guys can throw a helmet. I didn't think that would help. I didn't find it helped me. I wanted to model behavior that I felt would would grow into others and give them something that they would look towards and be and feel, I guess, not just safe, but feel confident and feel secure. But today, the cameras are on you 24, all the time. There were times when a player and I would go down on the runway and get out of the camera view, and we'd get after it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes we got after it a lot of bit, but it would be two men having a very passionate discussion about something. And I think it was important sometimes that you let players vent. Because I've also been
Mm.
around coaches and managers because the player raised a voice, they go nuts because, yeah, I'm the man. No, sometimes they need to feel what they need to feel. And if you can show them the respect that you're willing to stand there and listen to it and actually hear it, then respond, that's when you start to develop that relationship, which can become meaningful.
How did you make I'm not saying this is necessarily a hard decision, but how did you make hard decisions as a leader? What were you thinking about? Were there trade-offs you were going through in your head?
I have what in my life, what I call a Mount Rushmore group. It used to be four, now it's closer to six people that we get on the phone twice a month and share two ups and two downs, two good things that happen in our life, two bad things that happen in our life. And sometimes it'd be a call to one of them. And sometimes just because it's baseball related doesn't mean they don't have any clue about it. Because I've got
Yeah.
two women in this group. At one time, I had three, and I have a 20 something, a 30 something, a 40 something, and a 50 something person. So different age groups, different lenses. One of me is more than enough. If I get a bunch of people like me involved in making a decision, yeah, we're going to make a decision, but it's so like minded. There's no confrontation, there's no discussion. And I loved hearing from different viewpoints. At the end of the day, I'm the one that has to make the decision. And many times, Megan, it would come down as clear cut as this: what decision can I make that can go wrong that I can still live with and sleep with?
Oh, that's a great question.
Sometimes I've made decisions that, you know what, it could have been somebody else's decision or thought. I needed to answer my own heart because I had to live with it. I was going to be responsible for the decision one way or the other and the outcome.
Mhm.
So you're going to get second guessed anytime it doesn't work. So why not at
Yeah.
least put yourself in? If they're going to second guess you, at least I did what I felt right. So let
Yeah.
them. And I never really got too consumed with people that second guess because I'm not even asking them for a first guess. They're not in that posse. They're not in that circle of trust that I'm actually seeking advice from. But that's what they do, and that's their job, and I get it. But it doesn't I don't have to let it permeate me. I don't have to let it mess up me.
I've heard you say in other interviews and in the past that leadership is lonely and you're inevitably gonna disappoint someone. How should people look at that? Like, how can they, especially for folks that feel a lot of tension with that, how can they move through it in your experience?
Well, if you're feeling tension with it, it probably just means you haven't done it enough.
That's true.
Because at the end of the day, do you disappoint people?
All the time. I disappoint my kids daily,
Well,
Clint.
okay, so exactly, but is that your goal at the morning when you wake up is let me see how many people I can twist throughout my daily run, right? No, it's not. But you're going to. You accept that. But does it stop you from pouring your heart out, sharing your heart, tough love, soft love, whatever the love you needed to share with them that day? No.
Mhm.
So the fact that leadership is lonely, it is because I used to share this story with my coaches a couple times a year. My manager's office is in point A. The coach's office is in point B. The walk from my office to the coach's office was 35 steps. It seemed like at times the walk from the coach's office to my office was 2 miles. They couldn't get there. They couldn't find their way there. So I
Yeah.
found out rather than complain about it, whine about it, feel, oh, they don't, I would just walk down there and we'd sit down and have the meeting in their office. They were more comfortable there. Not many people are comfortable in a manager's office. However, over time, once they know it's a safe spot, it's not they're just going to get chewed out or they're going to get sent down. That's when the magic starts happening. But being lonely, that's just part of it. And if you think you're a leader and you turn around and there's nobody behind you, you're just somebody going on a walk by yourself.
In those, you said when things don't go well, how did you still find joy? What did you look for? What did you do to still find that happiness?
I count my blessings, and I share this in the book. If people that know my life story, I
Mhm.
mean, I'll bring everybody in here that might not, because some people say, "Oh, Clint Hurdle," they'll Google me up. You'll see a lot of cool stuff, but if you dig deeper, you're going to find some other stuff that's not very cool. But on the surface, oh, he's a major league manager, 17 years. He played 35 years in the major leagues, 51 years in baseball. Oh, he's been married 26 years. Oh, well, I'm twice divorced. That's no fun for anybody.
Yeah.
That's breaking people's hearts. That's hurting families. And I've had to own that. I'm a recovering alcoholic, 27 years sober. I
That's
caused a lot of
awesome.
collateral damage along the way based on my addiction. I was a player, a can't miss prospect, and in some people's minds, missed. And the funny thing I like to share with people is that, you know what? I didn't figure the game of baseball out how to make money until I stopped playing. Once I stopped playing, my skill
Yeah.
set turned out to be much better for the game, suited for the game than my playing skill set ever did. Um, I've been lonely. I've been sad. I've been depressed. I've been angry. I've been resentful. I've been all those things. So when things don't go well at the big leagues, I got a big league job. I'm happily married. I got kids. At the end of the day, truthfully, I'd shake it off. I'd say, come
Yeah.
on, think where you were 26 years ago. That one day when my butt hit the ground and I knew my life had become unmanageable in some areas and I had to seek out help. And
Mhm.
along with that, I rededicated my life to Christ. I'm a Christian. I used Jesus as an ATM card for 23 years. I mean, I have been that guy that people just throw their hands up and they're like, oh, there he goes again. And I got to a
Yeah.
point where I just got sick and tired of being tired and sick and being resentful. And I just said, you know what? I'm flipping the script on the rest of my life, however that looks going to be. I'm going to try and be useful. I'm going to try and be helpful. I'm going to try to be of service. And I'm going to try to be the best version of myself in my marriage, with my kids, with my family, with my friends. And that's what I've done the last 27 years.
I love that. I am not recently divorced. It's been 3 years. But it was a very hard process, hard time. And I love what you said about looking back and looking at, those moments and saying, have you improved a little from there? And you don't have to have improved mountains upon mountains, but are you a little bit better, a little bit more forward motion than when you were there? I love that.
I think honest self-evaluation is another
Yeah.
superpower. When we can
It's
look at
hard.
ourselves, well, yeah, but you know what? It is hard, but it's helpful. And it's better
Mhm.
than not doing it, because the normal
Oh,
narrative is what? We beat ourselves up. We're not even honest with ourselves. We'll talk to ourselves worse than we'll talk to anybody else in our life at times.
yes.
At least I
Yes.
used to. I used to.
I do too.
I say things to
Yeah.
myself that I would never say to anybody else. Mean, hurtful things.
Yeah.
And I just stop that. Just stop that. Okay, I made a mistake. And then I would honestly self-evaluate. Was I prepared? Did I execute? Did I consider A, B, C, and D? Sometimes I just make mistakes. But the one thing I know now, I don't make them because I'm hungover and drunk anymore. So the
Yeah.
ones I make now are just human mistakes based on, me. And
Yeah.
me still doesn't bat 1,000. Me doesn't make every right decision. My wife, Carla, can tell you story after story. She's seen the other side and now this side. And this side right now is no finished product. This side right now is not ready for sainthood. But she would tell you that, there's been a lot of work done where I'm not the man that she first met. And for the grace of God, she decided to hang around and see if there was a better guy in there willing to come out at some point in time. So when the days when I have to do hard, I just do hard. That's all I got to do. But it's nothing like the hard I had to do so many years ago.
You mentioned, in a funny way that you kinda learned how about the part of baseball after you were done being a player. Every time your career has transitioned from player to coach to manager, is that how you always wanted it to go? Did you kinda have that next step in mind, or was it just kind of how it worked in the moment?
Absolutely plan B. You know, I write my life story, come on. It Hall of Fame would have been in there.
Yeah.
All of the award, World Series, da 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 da. I would have gotten divorced. My mom and dad were married 69 years. You know how hard it
Mhm.
is for somebody to go through a divorce the first time, let alone the second time. Your mom and dad are married 69 years. They
Yeah.
figured it out. They've watched the
Yeah.
son trip all over himself twice. The last 27 years, I could not even write this script. It's been an incredible ride. Has there been heartache? Absolutely. Have there been disappointments? Absolutely. But there's been so much joy, so much good. I have 3 children that I love and adore, and I believe they love and adore me. I don't my daughter, Ashley, who's 40, we didn't have that relationship initially. When I was divorced from Ashley's mother, she was young, and that hurt her. We had a lot of work to do to get our relationship back to a healthy place, an understanding place. Now I've got a daughter that I never knew I had. She's got a dad she never knew she had, and this has been going on for a while, but that's good. We have a special needs daughter, born with a birth
Mhm.
defect.
Yeah.
That's not something you're gonna write in your life bio that "Okay, I want my life to go this way." Well, let me have a daughter born with a birth defect. But you know what? We have one, and we love her. Madison is a gift from God. We've been empowered to take care of her and help her, learn from her. Our son Christian's 21. He retired from pro baseball at the age of 4. Can you imagine what a kick in the gut that is to a guy that's managing a major league team? His son says, "Dad, I'm out at 4. We got a backyard that looks like Wrigley and Fenway. I got a garage full of uniforms and gear." And when he told me, my wife looked at me and she's put her arm around me. She goes, "You got 24 hours to work through this." And I
That's more than 5 minutes. She gave you more than 5 minutes.
well, she knew I was crushed. Um, and I wasn't the guy that thought, "Oh, he'll come out of it." I knew when he said no, I knew this was no. I didn't hang
Yeah.
around. We sold the stuff within 2 months. We moved all the
What?
baseball gear. He did not there was no doubt. He played 1 year at 4 T-ball. He was the guy riding the bat as a horse, glove on his head, but he fell in love with tennis, then karate, and then crew. He fell in love with other things that he fell in love with. Been one of my greatest life lessons is to understand that each one of the children that I've been blessed with, I believe God put in my life to help me learn new lessons and learn new
Yeah.
things about myself. And I need to be the best dad I can be for them in the area that hopefully they can find something that they're passionate about, like I did, and then
Yeah.
just be somebody that helps them on their journey. And I've been able to do that. Maddie's in Special Olympics swimming. She loves dogs. She works in a dog store. Our son is going to graduate this August from the Culinary Institute of America, Christian,
Oh.
as a pastry chef and a baker.
Woo.
He loves it. He's good. Ashley's crushing her work industry and doing very, very well. So they all found things that they're passionate about. And what was been beautiful, there's probably some dads that are going to be listening to this, but God also knows me better than me. He put my son, each one of these kids, it put me in a position where I could never coach them on the things they fell in love with. I didn't know anything
Mm.
about the things they fell in love with. I could never second guess the coach they had, nor could I ever
Yeah.
overcoach my own kid because of the sport they were in. Maddie, it was swimming. Ashley, it was water polo. Christian turned out to be crew. What an incredible sport. But all I did was get in the car, drive, show up, bring a snack. And at the end, I would just say, hey, how did we do? Did we have fun? Tell me what happened today. That was it.
It can be, I'm sure, very when you have that experience, the experience that you do, especially, like, in a sport like baseball, if your children had gone and played, just having it would have been that kind of, not friction, but just a very interesting experience because you would have had that knowledge of right and wrong, and
I need to bless everybody with my baseball knowledge if my son would have kept playing baseball, right?
is there a moment in your career that you wish you could replay? Not to change the outcome necessarily, but just to experience it maybe one more time?
Oh, absolutely. And it's never been one of the crappy ones. I mean, those I experienced them once. Once was enough.
Yeah.
I do revisit the day that I actually knew that my life was unmanageable. I do revisit that because I want to remind
Mm.
myself of how lost I was, how lonely
Mhm.
I was. And I even at that time, there've been a handful of people that stayed in my life, provided support, were trying to be useful and helpful and be of service. I do revisit that, and that's part of my recovery. However,
Yeah.
the other ones, I revisit every trip to the World Series that my mom and dad were able to be a part of. I revisit my day at the altar with Carla outside on, we got married by the water. There was dolphins jumping. It was, those kind of days. In baseball, Matt Holliday's slide, game 163 that sent us, into the playoffs, the tiebreaker game with
Mhm.
San Diego in '07, the blackout game in Pittsburgh. There are moments that I replay, but I'll give you one of the most impactful ones. I kept this in my pocket for over probably 12 years. In
Okay.
Pittsburgh on September 15th, we celebrate Roberto Clemente Day. I don't know if you
Mhm.
know who
Yep.
Roberto Clemente is.
Yep.
Iconic player. They call him the great
Yep.
one. We have got a couple great ones in Pittsburgh. Mario Lemieux is the great one. Roberto's the great one. But the entire organization deploys throughout the city, and the city celebrates Roberto's Day like crazy. It's like Christmas. And it's a big deal. So my first year as a manager is 2011. We celebrate Roberto's Day. Vera's there, his wife, and his three sons. And they say hello, and we get to meet and talk. Okay, whatever. We have the season we have. We don't win. Now it's 19 losing seasons. The next year they show up, 2012, September 15th. Hello, how are you? Hugs, this and that. We lose, have another losing season. That's our 20th losing season. And after that 2012, when we knew we had 20 losing seasons, that day she asked Roberto Jr. to come over and say, hey, I need to talk to Clint. He goes, my mom says she needs to talk to you. Can we go in the dugout? So I go in the dugout with Vera, who speaks little English, not much, and her three sons. And she's talking to Roberto, but I can understand Spanish. I've had Latin players. I played 4 years of winter ball. I can understand more I can speak, but she's not happy. She's not super angry, but she's not happy. And she's very passionate. And I keep hearing Roberto's name coming up, but I can't put the puzzle together. And when she's done, Roberto kind of nods his head and says, you want me to? She goes, yes. Dile. In other words, tell him. And Roberto looks at me and goes, Clint, my mother wants you to know she's really appreciated your hard work and service for the last 2 years. She does believe you're the guy that can get the Pirates over the hump. She wants to let you know that there's no way there can be a 21st losing season in Pittsburgh because that was Roberto's number, and it would be a disgrace to Roberto and our family if the losing season reached 21. She's looking right at me, staring me down. And before I could even think about what to say, words are coming out of my mouth. Normally I can pause, hold it together, play in my mind what I want to say so I speak properly. All that came out of my mouth, I promise you, Vera, that won't happen. And as soon as I said it, I'm going like, what did I just do? I just promised a woman that we would not, this is her life to her. That 21 losing seasons I don't know. But I said that to her. And afterwards, Roberto looked at me and goes, you made my mom a promise. I hope you can keep it. I said, I, I hope I can keep it too. Well, the next year was the year we busted the curse. We didn't have a 21st losing season. So that September 15th, we got together and Vera came walking to me And I probably got one of the most meaningful hugs I've ever received in my life from a woman who challenged me and the team. Nobody else knew, but I didn't tell the coaches or the players. It was Vera, Roberto, and the two brothers that knew the story. And that I think about that more now than I ever did before, because I shared the story the last year at the first time at a gala that my wife and I were being honored at in Pittsburgh. But I was sitting next to Roberto Jr. for the evening. And he said, share the story, tell the world. He goes, it's true. And you pulled it off.
You have you mentioned, and maybe that's one of them, but you mentioned your Hurdleisms, which is your book that you released, and you also send a daily email, which I will tell you, Clint, I sign up for newsletters a lot. I get them all to my inbox. I have to tell you, yours is the only one I don't delete in the morning. I read it every morning that it comes out. All the other ones I've already. I just need to unsubscribe, but all of them I just trash. But I read yours every morning. How did that start?
I was voluntold that I needed to start a leadership group by Kelly McGregor, who used to be the team president. I was voluntold that he was going to pick the people and we were going to get together, 12 other people plus me. And I didn't realize the significance of the number till he told me later. It was 12 disciples and one leader. And the leader was going to change of the group, wasn't going to be me all the time. But I picked the first early topics. We discussed them as a group. I would put some cliff notes together at the end. And then at the end, I'd send them a text. At the bottom, I would put, make a difference today. Love, Clint. And I'd gone through this period where I decided I was going to tell people that. But more importantly, I was going to show people that. So I put that down, and we're doing this program for 2 months, and it's working out well. Everybody loves it. I mean, we're sharing topics. You know, there was 5 females in the room and 7, 8 guys. So we had a nice mix, and we'd have different leaders for topics. And I'd always take the notes, and I'd always send out the text. 2 months into the season, I get fired by the same guys that hired me, Kelly and Dan. You know, when you get fired, your swipe card doesn't work anymore, right? There's no going back. There's no leadership group for me to go back to or to lead or to hold. So I just stopped doing the deal. And it was another 6 weeks later that I'm in the Outer Banks with my family on a July 4th vacation. I haven't had a July 4th vacation since I was 17. I'm 54. I was 54 at the time. I've been in uniform every July 4th since I was 17. So I get a call from one of the ladies in the group. I see the phone. I'm out walking, and I'm like, "Okay, hey, how are you? Happy 4th of July." She goes, "Well, I'm okay. How are you?" I go, "Well, it's weird, 4th of July. I'm at the Outer Banks. I got a swimsuit on, flip flops. We got fireworks, barbecue." And she goes, "Oh, good for you." And she goes, "I'm not doing that well." I went, "Okay, what's up?" She goes, "Well, you have no idea how impactful that group was. You have no idea how much I look forward to the meeting once a week when you all were home, the sharing, the discussion. It's over. You haven't sent a text. You haven't reached out." She goes, "You used to write, 'Make a difference today.' Love, Clint." She goes, "You're not making a difference in my life anymore. And I don't believe you love me." I mean, it was awkward silence on the phone for about 10 seconds. And I just said, I'm, I'm sorry. You've given me something to think about. Eventually I'll get back to you. I go back to the place. My wife looks at me like, "What happened to you?" Told her the conversation. I go, she goes, "So what are you going to do?" Carla's like, "What are you going to do?" I go, "Well, maybe I need to take another walk." She goes, "You don't need to take another walk." She goes, "Call Kelly. You need to figure this out." I called Kelly and said, Kelly told me, the guy that fired me and hired me, he said, "Clint, leadership doesn't have a title. You have no idea the impact you had on those people. They weren't ball players, but you were a leader to them. They've told me how much they miss it." And I said, "I'm not calling." I said, "If you miss it, you call them." He goes, "I'm glad somebody acted upon it. What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I'll figure it out." Well, I started sending the text, and they were text, and they turned into email. 12 went to 100, went to 500, went to 1,000. There's 10,000 people on the email list now that received
Ooh.
either the encouragement email or the devotional. I mean, not as many with the devotion, but there's 10,000 people on this list. Does everybody read? I know they don't. But enough do that there's not a day that goes by where I don't get a response from somebody who says, you won't believe how much I needed this today."
Yeah.
And you know what, Megan? I do them weeks in advance.
Oh,
So who
wow.
orchestrates the timing? I don't say, "Hey, what does Megan need today? Let me put this one together." It's never about me sending something I think somebody else needs. When I read something from these authors that I follow, these blogs that I follow, these places I learn from, it's because it cuts me. It's
Yeah.
gotten my attention and it's making sense to me. I figure if it makes sense to somebody as thick as I am, it might help somebody else out there.
I have had that same sentiment of opening them up. I read them in the morning. I read it actually before I get out of bed, and because it's usually there. And I have had more than one occasion where I've read it and I'm like, man, that's just what I needed to read or to hear. It's not a thought or it's not a quote that I read it and I think, oh, I really needed that. And then it goes away. It stays in my mind throughout the whole day, maybe even throughout the next couple days. So kudos to you for having the wit and the wisdom to recognize that when you see it and that other people may have that same reaction that you do. They're fantastic, and I encourage everyone listening to this. I'll put it in the show notes, but to sign up for it. They're fantastic.
And they're free, right? They're free.
They are, yes. Yes. Not a lot of things are free today, Clint. So it is great. This has been so enjoyable. Your like I said, your wisdom, your leadership. I think so many folks are going to learn from it, especially folks that are listening to this podcast. But my last question for you is, if I dropped you back into a dugout tomorrow for one game, no pressure, one game, what part of it would you enjoy the most?
You've got a lot going on throughout the day. Number one, I need to be home while I'm home. Because initially, I'd be making lineup cards out at 8 o'clock in the morning. Not making them out, but in my mind. I was home a long time while I wasn't home. I got kids in front of me. I got my wife in front of me, and I'm worried about who's going to hit sixth. So I got past that. So when I was home, I was home. On the ride in, I'd collect my thoughts. And then when I got there, I'd have a host of duties every day. Meet with this, do this, meet with that, press, coaches, player, plans, practice. There got to be a point after that I would always go to the dugout 30 minutes before the game time. And rarely was there anybody there. I would go there, I'd sit by myself. You could smell the just cut grass. You could hear the people start to come in the ballpark. You could smell the popcorn or the hot dogs. It was like being in a cathedral or church for me for about 15, 20 minutes. Just me in the dugout by myself, just kind of just cleansing, just getting my hard days behind me. That's the way I would look at it. The hard stuff's behind me. Now I get to watch our team play. Yeah, I got to make some decisions and I'll answer some questions after. But it's almost like a dad getting ready to watch his kids go play in the backyard, right? And that part for me was always the most special. And I did it every dugout, every play, 17 years, to that 30 minutes by myself and just thanking God for where I'm at, how I got here, and the people that helped me on my way.
The way you describe it, Clint, how can you not love baseball? How can you not love it?
I'll ask my son, and I'll ask Christian. He'll have a 5,000 word
let's get
PowerPoint.
Christian on the phone and ask him what he was thinking at 4 years old. What was it for you, Christian?
You know the team he follows the most now? You know the one team he follows the most now?
Who?
The Savannah Bananas. He loves bananas.
Okay. They've latched on to something.
Oh, yeah, they have.
Well, and I'll say, you maybe know or not, Colorado Springs, because that's where I'm about halfway between. We just lost our baseball team last fall. So they had so it's been, we obviously would go to Rocky games, but that's kind of been disappointing for the entire community of just, there wasn't a lot of attendance, but the people who went clearly loved baseball. And that is, I'll admit, I don't know what it is, Clint, but that is one of my passion projects is how do we bring a baseball team back to Colorado Springs? I got to figure that out. And I don't know if I'm the one to lead it. Maybe I just bring everyone together, but we need baseball back in the Springs down here. This has been lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for coming on. It's been such a pleasure to hear all your stories. We certainly will be following the Rockies and the Pirates and the rest of the teams, but we appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much, Clint.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you very much.
Thanks for spending time with us in the middle. If today's story caught your attention, drop a subscribe, share the episode, follow us on social media, and remember, it ain't over till it's over.